Alright, well today we're going to be looking at changing out the window regulator or the window lift mechanism on the driver's side of the Frontier, because although today it's about 75 degrees Fahrenheit here in Tennessee, last week it was below freezing and somebody in the family decided that they wanted to try to lower the window with the window all frozen. And so it broke the little cable, most likely, in the regulator. So now what it's doing is basically nothing. So if I put the key in and I try to move the window, I can hear it, but it ain't moving. And then also it's broken, and so the window lifts up. And so the regulator's gone bad. So I haven't had it apart yet, but odds are it's the little regulator, because it's a really cheap design. Nissan kind of cheaped out on this thing, and so there's not much to this little thing, just a motor and a little tiny cable that runs on a pulley, and it picks the window up and down. So we're going to get that changed out. They're not expensive. It was like 40 bucks, I think. Bought it off Amazon. And we're not going to need a lot of tools. We just need a Phillips head screwdriver to take some of the screws out. I'm going to use a driver. And a little pry tool to pop a little cover off. 10 millimeter. And did you know that actually there's a company that makes a whole slew of 10 millimeters? You can just buy a whole kit of 10s. And so if you're like me and you lose these 10 millimeters, then there's a little company that sells these things. It's kind of cool. So got those, and then some tape, because I'm going to hold the window up versus taking the window out. Make it a little bit easier so I don't have to worry about getting it out of tracks or anything like that. We'll get set up here, and we're going to take this apart and put us a new regulator in. Alright, so let's get this regulator off here and get our window working again. So to start out, we've got to take the screws off so we can get this inner panel out. But it's no big deal, just a bunch of Phillips head screws and some 10 millimeters. So we'd start back here. So this little guy, you just grab him by the back and tug him, and it pops right off. And we had to get that off because there's a 10 millimeter right there. This has to come off as well, but there's a screw right down in the grab hole, so we can take out now. It's a Phillips head right down in the bottom of it. Get that little guy out. So far, easy peasy. Now this thing comes off, it's clipped in the back, so you can raise it up back here and then just pull on it a little bit and it'll pop. But there is a wire connector set right here now. This is like any other Nissan I've ever dealt with. These connectors do not want to come off. And so if you look on top of this one, right at the top up here is the tab that pushes. And you're supposed to be able to push down on that and it'll pop and it'll come loose. But they hardly ever do it. So what you can do is take a screwdriver and slip it right in beside the tab and kind of separate the black from the little white connector, and you'll hear it go pop. And then maybe, if we're lucky, we can get it to pop off there. But these are so annoying. I don't know why they didn't do a better job. There, you heard it pop. So there we go. So that guy comes off. That's probably the most annoying part of the whole thing, is get that dumb little connector loose right there. But it's necessary, because we got to take all this off. Alright, so then next up, we got a Phillips head right inside the little handle thing. So that's got to come off. We'll pull him off. That should free up the little handle pocket on the outside. And that's right there. Got that freed up. And then the last screw is up here on the top. And so that's where you're going to need a little pry tool, so you can put your little pry tool underneath there and pull that little Christmas tree thing off. So that's just holding that trim in place for you. So there you go. So we got all of the bolts off and screws off, except for these two right here. So let's get our 10 millimeter out. And we're going to take those off. And here. There we go. So that should have the whole panel pretty much freed up. Now we got to worry a little bit about this because it's part of the panel, but it's also part of the mechanism. So we'll have to see how that comes off when we pull that out. So we should be able to just grab it down here at the bottom and pull it, and it'll pop the little Christmas trees loose from the bottom. Just work your way around. Get them all pulled out. And there went our little thing. So once you put it all together, that little guy is going to snap back in there for us. So we'll put him over here. Now we're ready to pick up on it and slide it up to get it out of the track. And there we go. So we got our little side cover off. And you can see this right here, that's this little piece that popped off. So it only goes on there one way. And so once you put it all back together, you're just gonna snap that little guy back on there. And here's your vanity. Alright, so let's take him back out. There we go. So now we're working our way on down. So we got our vapor barrier, it's got to get pulled away because we got to get the regulator out of this hole right here. But to get it off, we got to take this little grab thing off right here first. So let's get our 10mm and take him loose. So now we just need to peel back our vapor barrier. What we got to do is get this plate off in order to get the regulator. Now my window's partly up right now, and so I can't do a whole lot. I got to get the plate off. I'm going to see where it is. If I can get to the bolts, that's great. If not, I may have to work a little bit to get that regulator down because mine's are broken. So let's take this plate off right here. And we got our plate. Alright, so you can see the bar of the regulator. That's the slide right there. So there's not much that holds it on there. We've got 3 bolts that hold the motor, and then we've got 4 bolts that hold the regulator. This one's on a slot though when they did the assembly, so you don't have to take it all the way out, you just got to take it loose. So we are ready to see if we can get the regulator out. And at this point, when we pull it out, the window's going to come down, but the window is sitting right here. And so I can't get to anything. I can't get my window down to get to the screws that hold it to the regulator. And so normally you would install it down here. So what I'm going to have to do is actually hook my switch set back up, see if I can't get the window to lower enough that I can get those bolts out of there. You'll see them in just a minute. If not, then we're going to have to do something, because you can see right here, there's my cable. The cable got broken. We're going to figure out how. We'll have to take this loose and lean around and do all kinds of things, but hopefully we can get it down. So let me reconnect this little hard connector right here and get my window to go down, maybe. Yeah, so it's still working somewhat, probably enough that I can get it to maybe move down enough for me. The cable's all janked up in the motor. And I got to be able to get to that bolt and one on the other side over here. Now we can get to it. So you can see the one here and the one there. Those two have to come off. So fortunately, there was enough life left in that motor that I could push down on it and get that thing to come down so I can access these bolts. Alright, so now let's disconnect this guy again. Stuck on there again. Nissan and their connectors. So now you can kind of see what I did. This little push thing is what releases it, but a lot of times it won't push. And so you have to take a screwdriver and kind of put it in between there and get it to pop, and then it'll come off there. So a really crappy design. Fortunately, you don't have to take these things off very often, so we'll be alright. Alright, so now we can get to our bolts to our window. So let's pop those guys off. There's our window bolts. And now at this point we want to pick our window glass up. It's not connected anymore. So now you can raise the window up. And you could take it out if you wanted to. But for me, I'm just going to take it up to the top and tape it. So let me get some tape. That way I don't have to worry about it not getting down in the slides correctly. There we go. So now we've got our glass held up out of the way with some tape. And now we can pull our regulator out because the glass is up high. Alright, so to get the regulator out, we got a connector that goes to the motor. This one right here. And so you can see that that's this connector right here. We'll get a screwdriver to put it down. There we go. So let's disconnect that little guy because that goes to the regulator, and it's got a little easier connector to deal with right there. And it goes up in the hole. Alright, so now we are ready to take the little window regulator out. So this one, we just need to loosen it. That one we'll take out. That one we'll take out. And that one we'll take out. And that should have everybody on the regulator. What I'm going to do is put one of those back in. My regulator right here. As you can see, it goes like that right there. And so this upper one is the one that gets the screw to help me mount it. So I'm just going to put one screw back in there, and then I'll take my other screw out. So to get him out of there is pretty simple. Just slide the regulator sideways and he'll fall out. So now we just got to get our motor off, and the motor's got the 3 screws. So the motor's loose and the regulator's loose. Now we just reach up in here and pull the motor off its little tabs. It's hanging on some tabs right there. And out comes the broke regulator. So you can see what happened is the cable actually came loose. It pulled the ends of the cable off, so the regulator got shot. So this one is bad. We just got to save our screw for that. Alright, so install is exactly the same, just in reverse order. So what we want to do is take our new regulator and slide him up in the hole. Spin the motor up. We'll go ahead and put the bolts in for that. This aftermarket one doesn't have the little tabs to align it for you, so we'll have to just find the hole. So everybody's in there. We'll go ahead and plug this back in so we don't forget. So now we can tighten our motor up. First, let's go ahead and get our regulator in place. set our regulator up. And we want to put these bolts in. And there we go. So we're all back in there the way we ought to be. A little hole right there. Yep, we just tighten it all back up. And that's it. Now we can slide our glass back down, line our tabs up, put those two back in there. And we put our window glass behind the tabs, like that. And there we go. So now we got our new regulator in. If we want to check it before we put everything together, all we got to do is hook our aggravating little connector back up. There. Turn the key on, and now our regulator is working again. There you go. We'll put that back up. Pull this loose one more time, and all we got to do is reassemble everything. So there you go. As easy as that, we got everything done. You can check to make sure your door still opens and closes right. So we'll give her one more go here. Make sure nothing binds. And we're back in good shape. So there you go, quick and easy on how to change out a window regulator or lift for the Frontiers. Not too bad at all, just got to make sure you got something on to keep yourself safe from getting cuts. Well, alrighty, well thanks for watching.